My most nerve-wracking bit of my day. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our final interview in the current series. Before we start, let me know where you're watching from by leaving a comment. And if you've been out on the beach today, let us know where you've been, as we know it's the hottest day of the year so far. So a big thank you to anyone who's made it back to join us live. I know it's hot out there, hopefully not too sunburnt. If you're watching from the beach, let us know which beach it is, especially if it's in Cornwall, because it might have been a filming location on some of the projects we're going to talk about this evening. And if you're watching the recording or from somewhere else in the world and it's raining, I'm sorry, but hello from Cornwall. Don't forget you can submit your questions in the comments. And if you're watching the recording, let us know which is your favorite part of the interview. If you don't have a question, why not tag someone who you think might be interested in the video or share it? So with that said, I'm Henry from Cornwall Film Festival, and it is a pleasure to introduce tonight's guest. So I'm going to stop the screen sharing. Okay, now, a director with over 30 IMDb credits. He has directed episodes of shows such as Hollyoaks, the story of Tracy Beaker. There's lots of different versions of it. Waterloo Road, The Sarah Jane Adventures, Jekyll and Hyde, Mr. Selfridge, Poldark, Deep State, many more. Please give a big like to Joss Agnew. Hello, Joss.
Hello, Henry. Hello,
I hope that was all right.
everyone.
I hope that information was all okay.
That was pretty impressive. I haven't had an intro like that before. Thank you.
Marvellous. Well, I do try. I sound like more of a radio presenter each time, I feel. So if anyone wants to give me a radio show, I can just do intros. That's fine.
Yeah, they should hire you. Doing a great job already.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. Anyway, we're gonna stop talking about how good we are as people. That's fine. Let's get up straight into it, Joss.
Yeah.
So we know you're a director, but how did you become a director?
I was really lucky. When I was a kid, I watched a lot of television, and there was a show called Screen Test, and it was a quiz show for kids, and it was a way that Disney could actually show clips of their movies on the BBC. And what they do is it's like just two teams of kids, and then quizzing on clips from the films, and they had a young filmmakers competition. And so halfway through the show, they'd show you a film, and I thought, well, I'll do one of those, because I was just in love with drama and films and all sorts of things. So cut a long story short, made one of those, had it shown on TV, and I was hooked. And there's a slightly longer story, but in the end, after a lot of trying and effort, I managed to convince someone to let me have a go at directing. I did shorts and things like that, and then finally broke into TV, Hollyoaks. That was the first broadcast credit.
Yeah. So Hollyoaks is kind of known as well for a way of actors to get into TV, isn't it? So is it a way for directors to get in as well, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's fantastic, because you get to play with the train set.
I'd like to do a film set or TV set. Train set. That's great. So that's your summary of how I suppose you became a director. I'm going to talk a bit more about how you've changed projects throughout your career a bit later. But as a director, how do you tend to work? What's your style?
What's my style? That's a really difficult question to answer. I would hope that I'm inclusive and collaborative, and I'm trying to interpret what the writer is, what story they're telling, as closely as possible. I suppose maybe a bit more detail would be on a set. I would try and get that script as best possible, plus. And it's a trick to figure out what the plus is. So you're just looking at trying to squeeze as much out of this as possible.
So you spend a lot of time then your pre-production, getting everything planned, or the shots ready, or do you just turn up on the day and go, oh, we're going to do this?
You can try that approach, and that's not for me. I like to plan it so that I can throw that plan away.
Okay, well that's important. You've put the time in to make the plan, and then just
in I think I think it's, well, for me, I just can't do it any other way. I need to know, there's so many different variables that can happen as a first assistant director, who many people think that's the director when they see, making of the person that shouts action. That's the first assistant director. And one of them said to me once, he said, something in the day will get you. He wasn't as polite as that. So you're best advised to plan so that you're, guarding out for any eventualities that might arise. But also, you've thought it through. You've thought through the process of bringing that script to the screen. And like I say, then you can respond to something that you're seeing in that moment, being in the moment, as that's what the actors are doing, and you're trying to follow them as much as possible, and see something new and inspirational. Go with that.
I should put a disclaimer in here. I'm expecting a parcel that's about to turn up, I feel. So if we get a knock at a random door or noise, just bear with us there. We'll get Joss talking about his other projects.
We all want to know what's in the parcel.
We all want to know what's in the parcel, don't we? Well, maybe we'll have to do like an unboxing video as an additional to this, just for fun.
I love those.
You love those. We'll get unboxing involved.
Yeah.
We'll be filmmaking unboxing. It'd be great fun.
Yeah.
But for now, we can stay focused. Otherwise, we'll go off on a tangent about talking about unboxing. We'll just be here all night. So from Hollyoaks, you sort of went on to kids TV.
Yeah.
And that must have been quite a different experience again, because you did quite a few series of different episodes. So we have got things like the Sarah Jane Adventures, Young Dracula, Story of Tracy Beaker. How does working on kids stuff differ from like your earlier and later stuff? How do you take a different approach? Is it different?
I can remember the day before I was about to shoot, and I was really stressing on Tracy Beaker, and I was thinking, how am I going to speak to these young actors? And then, of course, I suddenly realized as soon as I started work, it's just like in your life. Everyone remembers that thing when you're a kid and that adult looked down at you and patronized you and like spoke in a different way than they would speak to the other adults or the other people in the room or whatever. And of course, it was that. Just they're just other people. And I had an absolute ball. I think, how is it different? It's no different. Apart from, compared to other dramas, more mainstream dramas, or let's say more prime time, I suppose, it's harder. It's harder because you have less time and you've got to keep the quality up. And this isn't, you can meet some absolutely outstanding actors, but they're still young people. They're still sort of finding their way as performers. So sometimes you need a bit more time. But of course, you have less time because the hours that you can work with them are restricted because they're young people. But I had a ball doing the kids' dramas that I worked on.
And
Young Dracula, especially.
I think for some of them as well, you were award-winning, because Sarah Jane Adventures particularly was quite well received, because we did part of the Doctor Who franchise.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, it was a wonderful time. It was fantastic to dip a toe into that universe, the Doctor Who universe. But we also kind of felt quite free to go and play.
You didn't decide at any point to dress up as a Cyberman or something on set and get involved?
No, who told you that?
No? Oh, okay. Well, we just go rewatch those episodes now.
I thought we're not going to just... No Cybermen were involved. I did get into a Dalek once, though.
Ah.
That's fantastic.
There's also a great picture of Joss out there of him on the set of Young Dracula in a directing from a coffin. So you can go find that if you are so inclined to go digging through the archive. I think there's actually
try these things.
You got to. Well, I mean, why not? If you're on set, I think we did share a picture of you on Poldark with all your essays pointing their muskets at you. And it was like, wow, okay, he's clearly popular there.
Yeah, those guys.
So that's obviously a lot of the kids stuff, the younger stuff, a lot of stuff done in Wales as well. But then you moved on to a bit more prime time, things like Waterloo Road, Mr. Selfridge, and then recently Deep State. Yeah. And how did you make that transition? What sort of gave you that push, that leap to something bigger?
Oh gosh. I
Making me think
suppose
here. I'm sorry.
luck. No. It's luck. It was luck. It was your. I was ambitious to work on stories that would reach as wide an audience as possible. That could be Sarah Jane was fantastically received, as you said, but yeah, I wanted to kind of stretch my wings and tell stories, that have a different range, then obviously there's only certain things you can do with kids drama. Although, Harry Potter reached quite a big audience, as it were. So yeah, how did I make the transition? Trial and error and luck. And it's just being persistent about knocking on doors. And I suppose I should say that, what really was the clincher for getting into TV drama was getting an agent. So there was my whole 20s was spent, trying to work up to trying to bang on that door and smash it down. And the gatekeepers are agents, or they were then. How it is now, I'm not so sure. Probably the same, to be fair. So yeah, it was persistence and nagging the agent to get the interviews.
I said a lot of people don't think that I suppose directors, a lot of crew do have agents who represent them for work. We just sort of assume that it's just actors who have representation, really, don't we? Or writers. It's quite nice to know it's a different world.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's very similar to acting. Or I probably sports people have got management / agents, that sort of thing. A lot of crews have at least a diary agency, and that which helps them find out where work is and then build up contacts through that.
See, everyone's learning. So if you're watching that and you haven't got an agent yet and you're a young director, go seeking one. It might open more doors than you think and definitely worth the time. But obviously, do research which agencies you're going for, I guess, to make sure it's
yeah. And just the same as acting, as someone said, if you want to be an actor, how well do you handle rejection? And I think it's similar. So just ignore the rejection, and if it's your passion, you just got to keep believing in yourself and make stuff.
Definitely, I think that's the important thing. People just create work if you're passionate about it. Let's talk a bit, Ben, about Mr. Selfridge before moving on. Quite a big, again, quite lavish period drama, kind of sort of semi-biographical about certain things. Was that all? Was a studio built for that? Was the whole set built? Did you have to get it constructed?
It was enormous. It was in an old carpet warehouse in Neasden, and they built the whole of the ground floor shopping area. Not probably exactly the whole length of Selfridge's, the building, but it was enormous. And what they would do is they're very clever. They had a staircase going up in the set, but they would redress the floor set to be from ground floor to 5th floor, and that would take 5 days. So you had to schedule in exactly when you. And this goes to the planning thing. Scheduling and planning are key. And we had to work out, when we were shooting on the ground floor, okay, what else could we go and shoot while they were turning that into the 5th floor?
Wow, brilliant. That's going to be logistical nightmare. Sounds amazing. Don't get me wrong, but logistical nightmare at the same time. And that's, you've got to make sure as a director, I guess, you get all the shots you want before you say, okay, moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to forget that master wide shot.
Did you ever get caught out on that one?
Oh, God, no.
If he did, he's not admitting it here.
Don't think so. I think I was all right. We had some really good fun on that. I wanted to take the audience on a tour of the whole shop floor on one episode. They were having a summer sale, and I wanted Harry to come down out of his office, down in the lift, around the floor, out through the front door, and look at the whole building. And so the sets in Neasden, as I say, but the exterior was at the Chatham Historic Dockyards. And so you just had to, that's something that you need to plan, I would say. It worked okay.
Yeah, we had early on in the interview series, we had a talk to Dilith Thomas, who did some work in Victoria. And she had the same thing in Hetty Feather, where they had, I think, a foundling home, and it was the front of the building, the back of the building were completely separate locations. All those, it's just quite amazing that there's so much more that goes on and goes into it really to make those scenes work.
Yeah, quite a puzzle. Deneth was the sort of like, I followed in her footsteps at Beaker. She was a real pathfinder.
Yeah, she is huge. Again, huge amount of kids stuff as well. It was just great. It was great to speak to her. I think she was our second one in the series way back when lockdown started. But anyway, we best move on to what everyone wants to hear about. We have some key items ready for this one. Joss, as we know, or you may know, directed 11 episodes of Poldark. So we are come prepared for the occasion, particularly for our fans out there.
God, this could be Aidan Turner sitting right there.
I doubt that somehow, but we'll run with it really as a kind of an option. So anyway, Joss, you came in to we're doing episodes on over 2 series of Poldark.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about how you got the job, how you sort of stepped into the shoes of a series that's already going.
Yeah, lots of same process on every job. You hear about it, and if you're really lucky, you can get through the door, and go and meet the makers. And I think for me, it was such a special show. I can remember really vaguely, even though I'm my age, the original series in the 70s. And, it was fantastic in terms of, it's Robin Hood, a man dispossessed of his inheritance and his lands, and, at one with everyone around him, the locals, if you like. I just so loved that series. And, went to meet Mammoth Screen, and a series of interviews after that. I was lucky enough to get the job.
I think everyone's very glad that you did. I mean, I'm going to say itself, it's too hot. It's too hot at the moment to wear these inside. It's boiling. So I know a lot of people did, have enjoyed Poldark, still enjoying Poldark, particularly in America, the UK, well, across the world. Did you ever have any particular challenges for the episodes you were filming?
Yes.
Could you share a few?
Well, it's amazing that you're experiencing amazing weather, as we know, in June in Cornwall. I mean, I had lucky enough to visit it when I was a kid, and I've always been down to Cornwall, and rain is associated quite often with it.
Yes.
But I suppose the weather is a really big factor, because we were there for the locations, and we wanted to see that incredible coast. And sometimes you're trying to tell a sensitive scene, and you've got howling wind and rain coming in horizontally at the actors' faces. So I think that's probably the main challenge was the weather. But we got so lucky, and spectacular, some of the stuff we did.
Do you have a favorite location that came out of that? And
I do. There's on the very end of the peninsula, to the south of Land's End, it's called Gwynap Head, and there we did some iconic work there. It's where Drake first meets Morwenna, where lots of stuff where Demelza throws a picture of Hugh into the sea, and yes, of course, we've got Aidan riding along the coast there. But it's got these extraordinary, towering pinnacles of rocks, like boulders stacked on each other, and for some reason the light was always amazing there. I think that was my favorite.
Well, I wonder if anyone watching has ever been there. If anyone's watching has been there, do let us know what you think, or maybe you have a different location in Cornwall that you think's better. We can have a disagreement over where's the best place.
Location of.
I know for a fact you have people who've been in the original Poldark in the remake or the most recent version, which I think people did enjoy being in all those different roles. Did you have any of those people in your episodes that you know about?
We had the man himself, the original
man himself.
Poldark. Yeah. I've had. I was lucky enough to have a scene with Robin Aidan, and he played Reverend Hulse. He was the magistrate, and they're trying to woo in that series, trying to woo Ross to take a bit more responsibility and become an MP and so on. Well, magistrate first. So it's a joy to see him and the both of them playing together.
Yeah, actually quite a nice experience and a bit strange, I think, for both of them, maybe in that kind of
Yeah,
sense.
I guess a lot of mutual respect, I think.
Ah.
Mm.
Did you encounter, other than the weather, then, did you encounter any sort of I guess, how interested were the locals in what you were up to? Did you ever have like hordes of locals watching you all the time?
Yeah, we had quite a few. They were absolute joy though, because you're to be working away and then to turn around and you see all these people that are interested in what you're doing, or some of them might think you're bonkers. What are they doing? But there was a core of really wonderful diehard fans that would follow us everywhere, and we got to know them quite well. And so I think that was a fantastic support to us. And Cornwall's been really welcoming, and it made me fall in love with that county in a completely different way than I already had been. So yeah, there was good support. Yes, paparazzi. I used to find that fascinating, trying to spot them in their camouflage in the bracken and stuff. But I didn't really meet them.
No, you didn't just go up to them and go, "Hello, I'm the director, and I want to know what you're doing."
No.
No, send the security in for that one. That would be quite amusing, surely. Might stop work on everything. But how long did you
I don't
have?
think they'd be interested.
No, no. How long did you have for each episode then when you were making that?
How long to shoot each episode?
Yeah.
God, that's a good question. So it's anywhere between, so it's 58 minutes screen time. Let's say you're shooting 5 minutes a day. It should sort of be around about 15 days, 20 days. That's probably terrible maths, but it's somewhere
No one's going
around.
to check it. It's fine.
It might even be less, more like 11 days. Really just depends. Yeah,
I guess it's like how action packed the script could be, if it's just dialogue, the scenes, all those sorts of things. So lots of factors.
That's a very good point. Very good point. The action and the location work really suck up time, but we would make that up, or aim to make that up, by shooting in the studio and sort of more dialogue heavy scenes, and try and pack more pages per day shot in the studio, because it's much more controlled. You're not worried about the weather so much, etc.
Yeah, because a lot of people do know and don't know that the studios you were filming in Bristol, and then obviously a lot of the exteriors down in Cornwall on the beautiful coastline, as we've already said. So
yeah,
you do have quite a bit of a change really to put in place for different things.
That's right. We'd say maybe shoot for a month in Cornwall and then 5-6 months in Bristol. And a lot of the big houses were Bristol area. But you're right, the bottle yard in Bristol was where the big sets are built.
Yeah. We've got quite a few questions about Poldark, so I'll come back. We'll move on from Poldark and come back to that in the questions, I think, because I know there's going to be lots of people asking specifics on that front. But we know, Joss, obviously this is his past work he's been working on. He's just finished Deep State. Is Deep State out now on Sky?
Yeah, Deep State 2 I worked on. That was 2 years ago, actually. And that came out on Fox network groups, which is Fox Europe and Africa. But that obviously that's been bought by Disney now. But yeah, you can see Deep State, both series, they're out there in the ocean of content that we can all choose from now.
Yeah, there's a lot out there to catch up on, isn't there now?
Yeah, I had a great adventure, amazing experience working with that. The artists were extraordinary, the locations were incredible, and the writing was, to do an espionage thriller, really provocative stuff, and in the edit, really interesting to play with it, to sculpt the order of that.
Do you get when it's a TV series, do you get quite a lot of input in the edit? Or does the editor just have to go by like the Bible or the style of the show?
What a great question. In this country, directors do have an input in the edit, and work, but it's very collaborative. Much more now. I suppose it's because we have the technology to share what we're doing a lot more. The writers or exec producers, showrunners, producers, everyone gets involved. But generally, directors in this country are given time to produce their cut, and then it goes through a series of notes. In America, it's different, or it was. It'd be interesting to see how it's different now with SVOD, the Netflixes of the world, how directors fare there. But for traditional broadcast TV in the States, the director would have like 3 days in the cutting room and then they've gone. But it was a different sort of setup to here.
No, well, there you go. If anyone's looking to work in America, there are differences between being a British-based director and then an American one, I guess. And I guess it's different around the world. People will all have different ways of working, which is quite nice.
Sure, yeah.
Now, Joss has also been working on a show for Netflix, which has been affected by the joys of the COVID pandemic, I think is what we're currently calling it. I've kind of fallen behind on all the terminology. But Joss, could you tell us a little bit about that without sort of any spoilers or giving too much away?
Yeah, sure. So The Irregulars is a Netflix show that is for, let's say, predominantly based or aimed at young adults. It is a cross between Sherlock Holmes and Stranger Things. And it's written by a guy with a fantastic imagination, a brilliant taste as well. Some of it very gory. Tom Bidwell. So he's our maestro. He's the writer, the creator of it. There are 8 episodes, and Johnny Kenton kicked it off. Really set the whole thing up brilliantly. Did the heavy lifting of inventing the visual representation of the world, and I've come in following Johnny, and I've shot episode 3 and 4. We finished that, finished shooting that, and then I was shooting the finale pair of episodes 7 and 8, and then COVID struck. So we're still in post-production on what has been shot, and we're getting ready to shoot the remainder of what we need to shoot in August.
So we're all up and going by August.
Yeah, it's based on in the Sherlock Holmes stories that he has these street kids called the Baker Street Irregulars, and he uses them to get information from places he can't go, where they're kind of invisible. And this series is based on their point of view. They're teens, and what else to say? Maybe I should wait.
Maybe you should wait. We'll get you back on, Joss, if you're up for it. When it comes out, we'll get you back on, and we can talk more about it. And you can say, well, actually, in that scene, that happened, and in this scene, that happened, and all these other things.
I can. I mean, it's really exciting at the moment because we've just started doing a digital dialogue replacement, or automated dialogue replacement. It used to be called ADR. And we're able to do this sort of system with the actor actually now being able to go into a studio with an engineer, and we will sort of chime in remotely. And it's really interesting here, an artist you worked with 6 months ago actually now watching something and getting their response from it. So it's really encouraging. They're very positive.
It's a wonderful thing. We spoke to an ADR supervisor. It's one of these interviews, Tim Hands. A lot of Game of Thrones stuff and things like that. It was quite really interesting insight behind the scenes of what goes on and how I think I can't remember for the interview, but if everyone goes watch it, he's like in it, Mamma Mia, and loads of other random ones. His voice just appears because they couldn't make the sounds. It's just incredible behind the scenes.
The only trouble with that is that if you're a Game of Thrones fan and then you're doing the ADR, that's it. You know, spoiled.
Do you ever find that with programs you watch, or you get offered the Irregulars, and you think, "Oh, I'd actually want to watch that," but now I know all the plot lines.
Not really.
No, just had to find other stuff to watch.
No, I'm too excited in actually, telling that story. So, think I'd rather. Oh God, I'd rather be watching it. Of course, I can't wait to watch it. And I've been lucky with the shows I've worked on. I've really, some of them I've absolutely loved as a maker of them and a viewer too. So, but I'd rather be making it.
No, that makes perfect sense. That's great. So we'll talk about some more of the shows in the questions, but we're coming towards questions, people. If anyone's got any questions, please do put them in the comments, and we shall try to ask Joss as many as we can in the time we have. But before we do, have you got any advice for either student or new directors looking to either establish themselves or maybe ways they can act on set to make things run smoother or express their vision?
Well, there's a couple of things if you're looking for advice in how do you become a director, That's dead easy. Go and make stuff, and don't worry about, oh, I've got to look for this thing I need to say. Just go and make something that makes you feel something. I think that's what it's about, personally. So, and look at TikTok. Wow. I mean, there's never been a better opportunity to be able to actually make stuff and reach an audience. So I would say keep making stuff and make stuff that you think would be relevant to other human beings, and then keep going, make it again, and learn and remember what you've learned from the last time, and just keep making another one. So in terms of like on set and things like that. Oh, sorry. The other thing I would say is study English. Just read. That's fine. You don't need to know all the grammar and stuff, but just keep reading. Keep reading stories. Keep making stuff. And then on a set, don't ever be afraid to ask a question, and don't ever worry about looking stupid, because most people are in this business because they're passionate about it and it's vocational. And they recognize instantly someone else like that. And they're all, generally, in my experience, I've found that people are very happy to share. I personally am. So, yeah.
No, great. I think that's important. So it's the idea for a lot of people, just keep going with stuff. Don't be put off, and just keep creating content, and be willing to ask those questions, because people will help if they can. Yeah. It's just a case of they're not going to just tell you something unless you ask the question necessarily.
Yeah. You
need to have that communication that goes with it.
Yeah, just keep.
Ooh, I thought I lost you there a second.
Oh, you did. You lost my can. Saying I'm going to have to do something.
Okay, we've lost him. He's back. He's gone. I'm going to keep. So, but if you are watching, don't forget to submit those questions and let us know where you're watching from. I've got quite a few, and Sally is on helping organise all those questions this evening. So thank you for that, Sally.
Thanks, Sally.
She's there somewhere. She's there in the ether somewhere. We can't hear her. So, Joss, what we find with a lot of young or new directors is they're not sure how to work with actors.
Oh, yeah.
Now, any kind of tips or anything that you could go with for that can kind of just how they might approach actors, how they can work with them for both sides to get the best out of them?
Yes. There's a brilliant book, I think her name's Judith Weston. It's called Directing Actors. Read that. That's brilliant. But generally, I think it's don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. They're just human beings, and that they are there to play with you. And it should be about playing. That's why it's called a play at theatre. It should be on a film set too. Working with them, it's finding a way to convey what you're looking for without doing what I fail often, and I give them a result. Be happy here. Why don't you be happy? And that's a bad note. So it's finding ways to explore the territory of the emotions that you're looking for from that performance.
There you go. Yeah, because I find being an actor as well, directors often can't communicate, or you can't interpret what's being said. It's that be happy, be sad. There's no kind of idea behind it. So
that's it. Yeah, don't you can't give the result. I think what's the story and what's the scene about, and whose perspective is this? That's the way to approach it, I would say. But don't be afraid. Just try not to be afraid. And it can be nerve-wracking. Some of these actors have done thousands of shows, and they're so smart that actually one of the good things to do is get out of the way and just let them do their thing. And then if it's it won't be far off from what you really want. It might just be just a tweak this way or a tweak that way, and that's the note you want to give. But
no, definitely. I think that communication that goes with it all, and make sure just happy to. It's a creative, supportive environment that you want to work with people, and everyone's there to do the same job of make the best show or film that you can.
Yeah. When I was young and arrogant, I remember this silver-haired director saying, went to listen to a talk he was giving, and he said, "I work in an atmosphere of love on the set," and I thought, oh, I couldn't relate to it at that age. It was a long time ago, but he was right. He was right. I think you want to be kind and give them time and generally collaborate, and I think love isn't a bad place to start.
Well, there we go.
Love what you do, so you're going to love what they do, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Everybody sort of embrace that. So, Joss, it's now time for the questions from the public. So give me a moment to find them and put them together.
Okay.
So some of these will test you. Some of them will be quite nice, I'm sure. So we'll start with one from Steve.
There's no math questions.
No maths questions. Okay. I ran a workshop earlier that had far too much maths in it for some. It was just too much maths.
Wow. Good. Okay.
So no maths here yet. Someone now may send us one. So this from Steve. Once you've written a script and you want to produce it, do you find a director first or a production company? Which comes first, in your opinion?
I think try both. Honestly, I think it's whoever you can get to listen and read your work, and there are no rules with that. If a director will be able to, that person, he or she might be able to take that to production companies they've worked with before, or vice versa. If a production company and there's a producer in there, they might say, "This is great," and I think I know exactly the person, to direct. So I don't think I can't see a difference. I think I would try both.
Cool. So basically, try both, see what happens, go with it.
Yeah, the difficulty will be when one of them says yes and the other says yes, and then so how are we going to do this?
Well, it's nice to have options, I suppose.
Yeah.
What is it like directing a set with lots of extras in the background?
Fantastic.
That's it. Tell us what you do. How do you approach it then? You got 50 Poldark miners on set?
Yeah. The train set just got bigger, and the bigger the better. And okay, so the way it breaks down on a set is you have a first assistant director, and they kind of run the floor, and they work very closely with the first assistant. Then the third assistant director is generally they are directing the background. So a director would talk to the third and say, "Look, I'm interested in some more chaos over there. This area could be quieter," or giving a tempo and a flavor and a tone. And then the third goes ahead and makes it all happen. And then I sort of tread on toes, and I hate myself for doing it sometimes, but I just get too overexcited and I want to know everyone's name. I think that's important. And then I start getting involved with the background action. It's very difficult for third assistant directors, and often they're quite tolerant. And I'm grateful for that. But yeah, generally it's very exciting.
That's good. Well, I guess it really helps bring the world together, doesn't it? Those with essays or extras, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. And it's tricky because there can be something that keeps catching your eye and you just don't believe it. So you have to go, but that's very subjective.
No, definitely. I think as well, some people aren't always sure what they should be doing or how they can be working. So it's a careful balance between the two.
Yeah. I once shot I've told this story before, but I once had to do a shot, like the swimming pool was suddenly filled with goldfish. So I shot through this tank of goldfish, and we had 200 goldfish in there. And then the actors were behind it. And right in the middle of the shot, there was this one goldfish that kept looking at the camera like that. And it was like, So it's it's tricky with a lot of essays if you don't believe it, that's the thing. And how do you convey to someone, I believe this, but I don't believe that? It's in a short time. It's a challenge, but it's very exciting.
I just have a vision of you now trying to talk to the goldfish though and say, "Come on." Or if the goldfish trainers there, I don't know. Do goldfish have trainers if they're on set? Something like that must be.
Not that. No, we didn't have a goldfish trainer.
Oh, that's what you're missing. You're missing the goldfish trainer. That would have just
Yeah,
that'd be great. Have you ever read the Poldark books?
I read the books that I was involved. The books that I was portraying through Debbie Horsfield's amazing scripts. I read those. Yes, I found it really useful. I found it really useful. Though when I first started, Debbie said you don't need to read this book, but obviously you need to know this script backwards. But yeah, I thought it was fascinating to see how she adapted it. So I was kind of interested in that, and the detail that he goes into of the inner world of the characters is fascinating to read.
Oh, definitely. I think often stuff that can be adapted from book has so much more source material that can be drawn upon.
Yes.
If you're going, ooh, actually, I need something else there, both as a filmmaker and as an actor. There's like that little nugget that you can use or interpret.
Yeah, there's I remember reading this whole passage of George looking, it's just two people in a room. George is looking at Elizabeth, and it's all about what he thinks she thinks of him, and all the difference in the class and all the tension that all this thinking that's going on that we all do. It's fascinating to hear that.
Yeah, you can't really have the voice inside your head on some dramas. It doesn't work so much, does it? Yeah.
It's interesting. It's kind of rarely used, isn't it? But sometimes it could be incredibly effective. But it's not common.
No. Well, maybe you could bring it back. Your next project. You never know. It could be your calling card piece.
Maybe.
Who knows? Heard it here first. What are the specific challenges of doing a period drama?
Okay, so it's always about, I just need to believe this. I just want to watch this thing and I'm completely as an audience member and just lose myself in it, and I completely buy it. So when we're in the late 1700s and you look up and you see a jet go over, that's tricky. Or telephone lines, or anything from the modern world that destroys that illusion you're trying to create. A piece of litter blows through the shot, things like that. Those are really the big challenges. And I think the presentation of people and characters that you absolutely buy is a challenge as well. So luckily we had incredible makeup and costume on Poldark that did an extraordinary job.
Do you ever find that the crew can sort of help shatter that illusion? So you're looking at a scene that's all set up, all your extras there, your cast are there, the horse and cart's there, and you just turn around and everyone's in high vis and puffer jackets.
Yeah, that does kind of ruin it. It's well, they are incredibly necessary. So
you do see all the behind the scenes photos often with the makeup people going in and checking, and then it's all that quite amusing shots.
Yeah.
Okay, your next question is still Poldark related.
Okay.
What was the casting process for Morwenna and Drake? And how did you, as a director, develop their relationship throughout the series?
Oh, what great questions. The casting process is like all of these shows. You completely rely on these amazing people called casting directors who just are like oracles of all the talent that's out there. So yeah, you're spoiled for choice. You are presented with various people to meet and to play with, and then it gets whittled down. And how did we work with them through the show? I suppose I felt extremely blessed to have Morwenna, Elise, and Drake played by Harry, and their chemistry was there from the beginning. So I just would encourage that, to focus on that chemistry and create the tone that was on the set that was allowing them to portray those characters in a safe way, and just make them feel comfortable and supported, really.
Oh, I think that's great. It's important that you can find those relationships with people and characters, and again offer them the opportunity to let it grow.
Oh, it's joy, yeah. Really.
We're moving away from Poldark now, Joss.
Okay, where are we going?
Well, let's go and see. Are there any directors that inspire you?
Oh, Yes, hundreds.
Hundreds. Can you give us like a top 2?
Yeah, David Lean, Michael Powell, Fincher, Lynch. Gosh, I'm now drawing a blank, of course.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when we ever. It's when anyone asks you questions like, "Who's your favorite? What's your favorite?" It's like just. I guess it's like, do any of them inspire you directly on like a day-to-day basis when you're on set and you go, actually, you take a scene from a movie and go, "Ooh, I'd like to create something like that."
I think, yeah. I mean, there's just so many extraordinary directors that have so much talent that it's difficult to choose one over another. You can say, why was Hitchcock better than Spielberg or vice versa? It's just, or some French New Wave, or whichever way you want to go. So I just try and steal from the best.
Best thing to do, steal from the best. There we go. That's the good advice for everyone as well. Watch films and then steal the best bits. How do I get into directing after doing a degree?
Okay, so I guess it depends what the degree was.
I don't know if you're still watching, what was the degree?
Make stuff. It's highly practical. It's if you wanted to be a poet, you'd write poems. An artist would paint. So you want to be a director, go make stuff. Watch TikTok and steal their ideas, because there's some brilliant ones there.
Are you on TikTok at all?
Me? No. I just watch.
You just watch. haven't got that yet. Next series you're on, you're like, I want a TikTok department.
Yeah.
Write it into the budget.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer this next question.
Oh.
What's your favorite member of the Poldark cast?
Oh.
You can't say you love them all.
Yes. That's like asking someone to choose. I was going to say between their children, but that's a terrible analogy. I don't have a favorite. Okay.
Well, I think we can't really press you too hard on that one. We're kind of going to go, well, he did that. It's like, we'll see. We had someone to work out how much screen time you gave each character or something like that. That'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to sit down and watch a lot of Poldark and figure out who gets more screen time in Joss's episodes and let us know, we'll establish his favorite character from that. It's completely fair.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of characters, oh no, I'm not even going to go there.
No, not going to go there.
Let's do some maths questions. That's easy.
So, any tips for working with actors who find it difficult to get into character?
I just think it's the same thing as before. It's about trying to understand what they are struggling with and how best to counteract that. If it's atmosphere, if it's not understanding motivation of the character, the situation. I think the first thing is just, you've got to create that atmosphere and study psychology, I suppose. Just be open and empathetic to people.
You're dealing with a human being ultimately, aren't you, as well? That's the thing. Yeah. We're dealing with somebody who has thoughts and feelings themselves.
Yeah. I mean, you could be a director that doesn't care about people. And, they're generally, I think there are people out there like that. I think we see them on our TV. Don't go there, Joss. But if you do like people and you care about them, then I'd say that's your starting point. And also, I mean, maybe a technical thing is if they're surrounded by a lot of people, just get up, get them away, go to somewhere private. Don't be afraid, and just be as supportive as possible. Shouting doesn't help.
Do you ever get a megaphone?
Yeah. And what I've discovered about that, what's really good about it is you can whisper, because I think and I hate it, and I know I do it, when you raise your voice. I think I always feel like a failure as soon as I've done that, then spend the next hour apologizing. It's so boring for everybody. But the thing with a megaphone is you can whisper and they can hear you 10 feet away. it's not about projecting your ego. It's about communicating better. And if we don't have to raise our voices, then it's wonderful. But I did have one and I lost it.
Damn it. Next time, again, back into budget. So Joss's top tip for megaphone usage is whisper. So maybe spend a bit of time just playing around with them and getting used to them.
Yeah. Because you're doing that, aren't you? But you know, you can hear me like this, can't you?
You could always get one of those nice old-fashioned director's cones. If you don't have it could be quite a nice thing to have carry around.
I've done that with a traffic cone on the last job. That was fun.
Make use of everything that's around you. I think it's the main thing, isn't it? So, do you find yourself going back to the same people to work with? So I guess cast and crew, they've done a good job. We get them back.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I'm blessed to say that I have a really fantastic collaboration with the director of photography, and we've done the last 5 jobs together, and that we have such a great shorthand. And we know each other very well, and we've become friends, which is a lovely bonus. And he's just so super talented, and there's no ego in the way. It's wonderful. Yes, I do.
There you go. So I think it's nice that you can create those lasting relationships and work with people again. If you can.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And then if because of timing or whatever, if you're directing, you're in post, but the crew have moved on to another project, of course. You can become out of sync, and you get to meet other people and work with them. And then years later, you might cross paths again with those other people. So it's that's a real joy about the industry. You're not in a place for very long, and that it gives you the opportunity to cross paths with old friends.
Oh, that's great. And I guess the same is true when it comes to production companies or commissioning agents. If you've done a good job for them in the past, they're more likely to want to hire you for the next project, the next series.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd hope so. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Josh, we're coming towards the end now, but a couple more questions for you. We're back to Poldark, I'm afraid.
I'm in light. Hang on.
Oh, he's going. Ooh.
Like that.
So Josh isn't in charge of lighting. He gets the visuals sorted. In several years, do you see the Poldark series picking back up after the time jump in the book?
Yeah, that's a good one. I've thought about that quite a lot, and I would say yes, please. I think they should, because it's such a great story. Let's see what happens next.
As I mentioned earlier to Josh when offline, we had a big following from the Sanditon sisters and the Sanditon fans last week, so maybe they could get another campaign going to bring back Poldark as well, and then we'll get Josh on that series to do some directing.
You should lobby Damien Timmer at Mammoth Scream, and Debbie Horsfield. And,
well, I think people would like it. I think, especially down here, Poldark is still very big. So, do you have any dream projects you'd like to work on?
Yes.
Could you? Just give us give us a taste. What sort of thing would you, if you could do any project in the world?
Well, I could give you something I'd like to explore. I'm very interested in suspense, so I would like to explore that a bit more than I have in the past.
We never know who's watching these, you see. So someone might be looking for a director for a suspense film or TV series. It's catching up on it later. It's always possible.
I think it's a very underserved aspect of our dramas. It can be so powerful. So I'd like to explore that a bit more.
And then one final thing from me for now. What's the most challenging project you've worked on?
Ooh. They're all challenging in different ways. Like I said earlier, the kids drama was really, anyone that's done kids drama, I really would take my hat off to them to make it, you have less time, less money. I think that is almost more challenging than going into the desert and working with, people that you're portraying as Malian separatists. I think that's the more sort of resources you have at hand, in a way, the easier it becomes. It's still incredibly challenging, but it's I'd say probably in everything. I think the kids' drama was the most challenging.
There we go. So anyone's looking to do that. Well, Josh, we're coming towards the end now. You can. So normally, what I do is I ask everyone what they're going to do after lockdown, but we're kind of in this weird bubble now where it's sort of over, but it's not over.
Yeah, I hope everyone's surviving out there as well as possible, and obviously we have lost so many people, and it's just been. I mean, I think we're going to take years to process it, aren't we?
I think definitely. I think there's definitely going to be a lot left to still deal with after we. I would say return to normal, but I don't think we're going to have normal as we've known it before. So.
No, I think we just got to, as long as we can just all try and look out for each other as much as possible. And I hope that there's greater empathy growing from this situation. And personally, when we get back into shooting, it's just going to be a joy to see that crew being able to work again, and and see the artists and finish the job that we started, and get this industry back up and running, because it's got some great people in this country working on some really great shows, and long may it continue.
No, definitely. And on that note, we'll say hopefully a bright future for the entire industry. Joss, thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful speaking to you and hearing all your stories and getting all the information and the gossip, of course. Thank you, everyone, for your questions, and thank you for joining us throughout this series. As I said earlier, this is the final interview in this current talk series. So if you missed any of the other ones, do please go catch up on them on the Cornwall Film Festival Facebook page. A big thank you to Sally, who's been handling the questions this evening over on Facebook. And please do keep an eye out for future interviews and future events from us here at Cornwall Film Festival. So I do this. Joss, once again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Henry, and good luck.
I was going to turn you off for a moment. And have a lovely rest of your week, everybody.